design possibilities. So we have algorithm strategies. In the algorithm strategies, we have data-driven approach and we have goal-driven approach. What is the difference between data-driven and goal-driven? Any question? Okay, let me ask anyone who knows about Khalid Abdullah, Adil Umar. In the data-driven, our objective is that we have databases like information system. This is data-driven approach or data structure. So we have stacks, we have queues, we have arrays. So that is the data-driven approach. Whereas goal-driven approach is used in artificial intelligence systems, expert systems, where our objective is to reach a goal. For example, Google used that goal-driven approach, and our objective is to reach a goal like a GPS system, or for example, searching system, searching program. Like you go to some mall, like Dubai Mall, I saw a counter that if you don't know the location of the shop, you have the screen at the entrance gate, and it will guide you. So you write the shop name, it will guide you where is that shop, the route to reach that shop. So that is the goal driven approach. Or like I want to go to New York, so what are the connecting flights from Jeddah to New York? So I can have direct flight, I can have transit flight. So transit flight, maybe it's economical, but direct flight will be expensive. So if cost is important for me, then I will take transit flight. But if time is critical for me, I will take direct flight. So that is data driven and goal driven approaches. Then we have algorithm. After algorithm designing, we have hierarchical structure, which is called decomposition or functional decomposition. Functional decomposition. That we divide the main functions into sub functions. It's also called divide and conquer approach, that divide the large problem into smaller pieces or chunks or procedures. So we have modules. So what's a module? Who will define module? Ammar Ahmed, Faris Fareed, Abdul Aziz Eid, yes, like a unit. We normally define module. Module is a self-sufficient part of a system. A module is a self-sufficient part of a system. So like we have Hotmail. In Hotmail we have inbox, junk, compose, send messages. These are different modules in Hotmail or Gmail or Yahoo. So like in our Otis Plus, we have add course module, drop course module. I can enter grades, so grading system module. So we have different modules. So that's the modular approach. So Function decomposition will divide the large problem into smaller problem or pieces or chunks. Then it's easy to code, easy to test, easy to assign modules, individual modules to individual programmers. So these are different advantages of modular approach. So it's under the structured programming. Then you have abstract function hierarchy. So we have abstract classes and we have abstract methods. I will discuss inshallah object-oriented in another lecture, but this is at the design level. In the UML you have a class diagram. In the class diagram you have abstract class and you have child classes. So that is the abstract hierarchy or abstract function are there. So we have abstract method. In Java we call them method. In .NET we call them function. So these are the design possibilities. Then I will move to so any question regarding this slide? Any question regarding this slide? Okay. So what are the main design techniques? We have data flow diagrams, we have ERD, we have hierarchical charts. This is the structured design. And then at the object-oriented level, you have the UML in which you draw use case diagram, class diagram, and so on. And then you have reusability, the reuse. So I already covered in 251 what's the reuse. Who will define the reuse? Define the reuse. Khalid Abdullah. Adil Umar. Asim. Abdur Rahman. Amar Ahmed. Using old project, reuse legacy system with building new system. Anyone? Now it's open. Okay. The best definition for reuse: write once, run anywhere. Write once, run anywhere in the life of the code or the project or the system. You write code once and then you can run it on any platform, in any project. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Reinvent the wheel. For example, like Khalid Abdullah said, has written, reusing legacy system when building new system. It's absolutely correct. There is nothing wrong. So you have legacy system, like you develop a project in 1970, 1980, like I used to give example of Pakistan Electricity Company, like Saudi Electricity Company. They are using COBOL based system from 1970s for billing. So it covers entire Pakistan, including domestic, the homes, offices, factories, for electricity billing system. COBOL based system is a file based system. You don't have database. In 1970s there were no databases. So we have file based system before databases. And if you have written some function in COBOL in 1970 or 1980 using Pascal or C or Fortran, if you need the same function in the new project in 2020 or 2021, like today, then you will just call it and use it. You will reuse it because the software company or the customer has spent time, cost, effort, resources to code it, to test it, to maintain it. So it's not like you just develop it and throw it, scrap it. We will reuse it. This is the best part of the software, best part of the coding, that it will allow us to reuse even the modular approach or the object-oriented approach. We can reuse the modules. So that's the best definition for the reusability, because it will bring time saving, cost saving, effort saving, resource saving for any software company. I normally used to give example that one of the researcher in our field, he developed 2 applications, one from scratch, other by reusing the previously developed functions, previously developed code. There is 51% time saving and cost saving. 51% time saving and cost saving. The application which is developed from previously developed functions, previously developed code, as compared to a new application which is developed from the scratch, line 1. So this is huge difference for any company, and this is the actual profit of the software companies. This is the reason they love to have reuse. And the architect always recommend to the programmers to reuse the previously developed functions or the components or objects rather than developing from the scratch, line 1. Then we have design tools. For example, we have Microsoft Visio, we have Rational Rose, we have Star UML. These all are designing tools. So any question regarding the design techniques slide up to here? Okay. Like I discussed, we have Rational Rose, Star UML, Microsoft Visio, TogetherSoft. So at this level, we clearly understand that for any project, first we do analysis and then we do the design. So let me increase the size. So it will be clear to you. So we have analysis and we have design model. Is it much clear to you now? Okay. So at the analysis level, we gather the requirements and then we do the modeling using the UML, use case diagram, class diagram, sequence diagram, component diagram, package diagram, state diagram, activity diagram, whatever you want. So we have scenario based elements, we have flow oriented elements, we have class elements, we have behavioral elements, and at the design level, You have component design, interface design, architectural design, class design, or data design. So they are linked with each other. Based on the analysis, you have your design. Like civil engineering or architectural engineering, the architect will collect requirements from the customer to construct any building or house or bridge, or like build towers like Twin Tower of Malaysia or Burj Khalifa of Dubai. So after taking the requirements, like our projects, software projects, we have analysis, we collect requirements from the customer, and then we do the design. Then the architect will design the architecture, that how many floors of the building customer wants. So where will be the kitchen, where will be the pantry or bathroom or play place or office place, business hall, whatever, the kitchen, bedroom, master bedroom, guest room, so on. Similarly, our project, we have requirements, the analysis model. On the base of that, we have our class, we have architecture, we have interface, and we have components. So this is the relationship between the analysis model and the design model. Any question regarding the analysis model and the design model? Any question regarding the analysis model and design model? Okay. So what is the objective of analysis model? It analyzes the problem, whereas in the design model, we have the solution. So analysis model will help us to identify what's the problem, what are the requirements of the customer, and the design model will help us to find the solution, alternative solution, or the best suitable solution for the domain. So what is the problem? It will be identified at the analysis level, and how I'm going to solve it, that's the design. So that's about the analysis to design. So design and quality, as I discussed in my outline, design and quality, they are linked to each other. Like software companies, they don't have time to do much documentation, too much documentation. But whatever the documentation they do, like in my experience, the software companies normally go for use case, class, sequence, and component. So some companies only draw use case diagram and class. Some companies only draw sequence diagram. Some companies only have the component diagram. So, but this design is of high quality. It is very clear in terms of implicit and explicit requirements, because the programmer should not ask you again and again what are the actors, what are the use cases, what are the classes, associated classes, so what are the related classes, child classes. It should be clear. Like I used to explain my students, there was a project in America by a software company in Pakistan, one office in Pakistan, one office in America, Descon Infosys. So they have a project in America which was an ERP system. So I have seen use case with use case description. There was 2 pages of use case description for each use case. 2-page use case description for each use case. Actors, use case functionalities, inputs, outputs, related actors and related use cases very clear. And on the top of that, use case was there, the down there was use case description, and then screenshot was there, interface specs, that this use case is going to implement on which interface. So it was very clear for the programmer to code. I'm sorry. He doesn't need to waste time to ask questions to architect and the database designer or the project manager or team lead. Shall I do this? Shall I do this? Shall I do this? So it should be readable. It should be of high quality. Requirements should be very clear, and it should provide complete picture of the system. So it should be self-explanatory. That's the quality should be there at the level of our design. Any question regarding this slide? Any question up to here? Any question up to here? Okay. Great. Then we have our architecture, in which we say that our architecture should be covering the front-end architecture and the back-end architecture. Front-end from the interfaces point of view and the back-end from database point of view. So we have different frameworks available to design our architecture, and we have database management systems available to design our backend. So these are the different type of software architectures available, like .NET framework is there, NetBeans is there, we have Ruby on Rails framework is there, PHP, we have Zend framework is there, Cake PHP is there. So BAMP server is there, which is combination of PHP and MySQL, and Apache server is there. So different frameworks available to design our interfaces, and we have database management systems available to design our backend is there. So that is about the software architecture. So advantages of architecture: we can communicate with the stakeholders, and we are very clear about the functional requirements and the non-functional requirements. What is the difference between functional requirements and non-functional requirements? I covered in 251. Okay. Khalid Abdullah, functional and non-functional requirement. Asim, Faris Fareed, Muhammad Saeed, Nawaf, okay. Functional requirements. Anybody else? The user can interact. Functional requirement, it must exist in the project. Any other student who wants to explain the functional and non-functional requirements? Functional requirements are the main functions of the system. How the system will act and react. For example, ATM. So you can insert your card, you can enter your PIN, you can select transaction menu, for example, withdraw, deposit cash, check balance, transfer cash, pay bill, and so on. Or like Microsoft Office Word. So you can type a document, you can save it, you can edit it, and then PowerPoint, you can have, you can prepare new slides, you can prepare new slides, you can have PowerShow presentation. So each software, like you have menu bar. In the menu bar, you have list of functions by Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint or Access or Project or .NET. So these are the main functions. Whereas non-functional requirements are not related to the functionality of the project, but they are very important for the success or failure of the project, like for example usability. Usability is a non-functional requirement. Security is a non-functional requirement. Efficiency, non-functional requirement. Reliability, non-functional requirement. So I will discuss inshallah these non-functional requirements in the next lecture because time is up. Any question up to here?